Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be starting Module 7, and in this module we're gonna be doing the verbs, which in Maltese they are called il-verbi. Il-verbi. In most languages, including Maltese, verbs change to match the person, gender or number of the people or things they're talking about. Maltese verbs have unique structures because of their Semitic origins, and they've also been adjusted to fit in Italian and English verbs. This makes Maltese verbs flexible in a special way that's not common in many other languages. This module is the longest, but very important, because during these lessons we'll learn the basics of verb conjugation, which means changing the verbs to fit different moods and tenses. Maltese verbs are quite challenging grammatically, but these lessons will help you to improve and understand them better. This will help you set a strong foundation for mastering the Maltese language. The verbs are words that show actions like run or eat, or states like be or exist. They are important in sentences because they tell us what someone or something is doing or experiencing. So, here we're going to start by the present tense and how the present tense is formed. Okay, so we start by the present tense. So, in order to form the present tense in the Maltese language, we need to know the imperative form of the verb, which is very important. So, that is the first step. So, let's see what the imperative is. The imperative in Maltese is called l'imperative. So, what is the imperative used for? Or what is the imperative? The imperative is used to show directions, instructions, commands, and requests. For example, do it. When you say you, do it. Okay? And by you, I'm referring to both singular, you, and plural, you. Okay? So, you, inti, in Maltese, or you, which means intom, in plural, okay, in Maltese. So, as here is described, the Maltese language, the imperative comes in both singular, using you, inti, okay, and plural, using you, intom, okay. So, inti, intom, all right, to send instructions, directions, or commands and requests. So, let's continue on the imperative to go more in detail. So, the below is an example using the imperative verbs to start and to run. So, to start in Maltese is ibda. Ibda. So, I'm saying you start. Okay, you start. Or you run. Okay, so verbs to start, ibda, and to run, ijri. Okay, so the imperative verb start In singular, in Maltese we say ibda. Ibda. But in the plural we say ibdew. Ibdew. Okay? So when we get the verb run, the imperative verb, the singular imperative is ijri. Ijri. And plural imperative is ijru. Ijru. So I'm asking them to run. You run. Okay? So this is what it means. So note, as you can see in the example above, the plural imperatives in Maltese normally end in letter U or W. Okay? So how, like we said here, the plural ijru. Okay? It ended with letter U. So how do you conjugate a verb in the present tense? So we know now what the imperative is. Okay? So in order to conjugate a verb in the present tense, the prefixes n, t, y, t, n, t, y need to be added to the imperative. So we're going to use the verb to start as we used in the previous slide. Ibda. Ibda. In Maltese, it's ibda. Is going to be used as an example. So we have this table, alright? So there's the English and Maltese version, so you know what I'm talking about, and we have the singular and plural. So let's start with the singular. Okay, so singular, the imperative verb is ibda. Okay, so in English we say I start. And in Maltese, we say jiena nibda. So what did we do here? We added anna in front of ibda. Jiena nibda. You start. Singular, remember. You start. Inti tibda. We added the t in front of the ibda. And we keep like that. He starts. Huwa yibda. Hija tibda. Okay? And now we switch to the plural. The plural is ibdew of the imperative. Imperative ibdew. So we start. Aħna nibdew. Okay? You start. Intom tibdew. T in front of ibdew. They start. Huma jibdew. Okay? So I am trying to give you the comparisons between the singular and plural of both, and how you need to conjugate it in order to get the present tense. And if you see, and to remember, okay, always remember that the annataya, always in the same order. Okay, so if you see below jiena, inti, huwa, hija, aħna, they start with n, te. Look at the bold ones. N, nibda, te, ibda, tibda, yibda, tibda. Always in the same order. So whatever it is, okay, always in the same order. Nibda, tibda, أن تا يا تا أن تا يا. Remember those. أن تا يا تا أن تا يا. Okay? That is a trick that I use to remember the what you need to conjugate the imperative with in order to get the verb in the present tense, and that's the simplest way, I think, in my opinion, to remember how you do that. Okay, so however, there are instances where that rule changes, unfortunately, and we see why. Normally, this happens when a verb starts with letter esce, emme, esse, ce, de, or z. So, the one that I told you before of the ennete, yet, ennete, is not always the case. So when we have these letters, that rule changes a bit, and we'll see how this is going to be changed. So we have the verb here to turn, which in Maltese is dur. Okay, dur. Okay, so dur, as you can see, it starts with letter D, with letter D. So the letter D is one of the letters mentioned above. So this means that the rule changes, and we'll see how this changes. So we have the same table as we had before, but with different, this time with the verb dur instead. So singular is dur, and plural, the plural of this verb is duro. So this is the imperative. Remember that this is the imperative, okay? Singular dur, imperative. Plural duro, imperative. Okay, so let's see now in English. I turn in English. So in Maltese, jiena ndur. Okay, so this starts with N. Jiena ndur. Jiena ndur. You turn, inti dur. So here we have a change. Okay, so we have a double, we add the D, and the D in front of the D of dur. Inti dur. Inti dur. He turns. Huwa dur. Okay, no changes here. She turns. Hija dur. Here we have a change. The same thing. D in front of the prefix. So in these cases, okay, when the verb starts with letter esce, emme, esse, ce, de, or ze, the verb gets a doubled consonant as a prefix. Okay, so that's why we have the double D where there is inti, ija, and intom. So ija iddur, double D there. Okay, and the plural duru. Okay, we turn, aħna nduru. You turn, intom idduru. Double consonant there as a prefix. And they turn, huma iduru. Huma iduru. Alright, so hope that was clear as well. So another note. Okay, another note. In addition, when a verb has a double y near each other, or double w and w near each other, these letters become a single y and w if they are preceded or followed by a consonant. So let's carefully and slowly look at the verb to cook, which in Maltese is sajjar. So sajjar has a double y. So this rule applies. So it is going to be used as an example, and we have the same format table here, where we have the singular imperative, which is sajjar, and the plural imperative, which is sajru. Okay? So, and we have the English and the Maltese translations. So let's start by I cook. So I cook. Jiena nsajjar. Okay? Jiena nsajjar. You cook. Inti ssajjar. Okay, so double S there. And the W remained the same because it is preceded and followed by A. And A, remember, is a vowel. So remember the vowels A, E, O, and U. So the A is a vowel. So these in bold W remain the same because there is an A before and an A after. But the same rule of the double consonant applies because the S is one of the letters I told you in the slide before, where we had the example dur. So this time we have sajjar, and it starts with s, so we have a double s in the beginning. Okay, so you know what's happening here because this might be confusing at first, but when you repeat it and repeat it again, you can see that it makes sense. Alright, so I'm trying to be as slow as possible so you understand me better like that, okay? Because this is a bit tricky, okay? So he cooks. Huwa jisajjar. Alright? She cooks. Hija sajjar. Alright? So in the plural then, it changes. It changes from double y to a single y. So we cook. Aħna nsajru. Why one of the y is dropped? Because of what there is written in the note here. Because these letters become a single y and a single w if they are preceded or followed by a consonant. So in Sajru, for example, has a vowel a before the y, but there is a consonant now after the y, you see? So in that case, one y, we drop it. And the same goes to the other two. You cook intom issajru, one y, and huma jisajru, one y as well. So hope that I was clear on this because it can be very tricky. Okay, so let's look at the present tense but this time we look at the negative present tense. Okay? So we use the negative in a sentence when something isn't happening or isn't true. So, for example, I don't like ice cream. In Maltese we say jiena ma nħobbx il-ġelat. I don't like ice cream, jien ma nħobbx il-ġelat. The negative in the present tense is formed by adding the particle ma. Remember the particles in module in the modules, one of the modules before? The particles, okay? So ma in front of the verb and the letter ash at the end of the verb. So let's take the verb to turn again as an example. So dur, okay, is the singular imperative and duru is the plural imperative. And we have the English and Maltese translations here as we had in the previous slides. So I do not turn. Okay, so in bold is the negative. I do not turn. In Maltese, okay, the bold ones are also the negative. So is the ma ndurx. Okay, ma ndurx. Okay, so we are adding the ma, okay, in front of the conjugated verb in the present tense. Okay, so the imperative dur was conjugated as we did in the previous slides to become ndur, jiena ndur, okay? And now we added, to make it, to form the negative, we added the ma and the ash in the ma in front of the verb and the ash in the end of the verb. So jiena ma ndurx. Okay? You do not turn. Inti ma ddurx. He does not turn. Huwa ma jdurx. She does not turn. Hija ma ddurx. We do not turn. Aħna ma ndurux. Intom, you do not turn. Intom ma ddurux. They do not turn. Huma ma jdurux. Okay? So, that was the present tense. Okay? So, the chapter of the present tense. But now, we need to talk about the past tense. So, the present tense, we finished it, and we need to start the past tense. Okay? In this course, we're going to go through the basics, okay? Obviously, because this course is for beginners, so more advanced and more complicated, you know, verbs and how they are formed, etc., etc. Then you have to be a bit more advanced to go there. So we will stay a bit on the basics here, okay? So let's talk about the mama and the air. Okay, so what is the mama and what is the air? In the Maltese language, all the verbs have the mama. So all the verbs, remember, all the verbs have the mama. So what is the mama? The mama is formed by asking the question, huwa x'għamel il-bieraħ? And what does that mean? That means, what did he do yesterday? So the mama, we always ask that question. Huwa x'għamel il-bieraħ? What did he do yesterday? Therefore, all the verbs in the Maltese are always shown and written in the third person masculine in the past tense. This is very important because this slide is very important because it's the very basic and fundamental thing in the Maltese language, okay, which then it develops from here, okay, so it's very important. So example, he played hide and seek. He played hide and seek. Huwa lab noli. Okay, so the translation is huwa lab noli. So what did he do yesterday? He played. So played is the verb in the mama. Okay? Huwa lab. Okay, in the English language do not have the mama, but I'm telling you, I gave you that example so you understand what I'm trying to say. So the Maltese language only has the mama. So the English, the English does not have the mama. Okay, so let's say that the English does not have the mama, but I'm using that example so you understand me better. So in this case, the example in Maltese is huwa lab noli. So lab, okay, is the what huwa x'għamel il-bieraħ, huwa lab, okay. So lab is the verb, okay, in the mama. Alright, so lab is the verb in the mama. So every word that have Semitic origins has the er, and this is important as well. The mama and the er are very important. Every word that have the Semitic origins has the er, which means in English root, which consists of 3 or 4 consonants only. Let's use the sentence in the previous slide as an example. So we said in the previous slide, huwa lab noli. So the mama, alright, what did he do yesterday? Huwa x'għamel il-bieraħ is lab. Okay? The er then is L, Ein, and B. Important note, kindly note that the er can only be taken out from the mama. So how do you conjugate a verb in the past tense? In order to conjugate a verb in the past tense, one needs to start from the root, the er, adding suffixes t, t, the mama, et, na, tu, and u. So suffixes t, t, the mamma, at, na, to, and u, and making some modifications to the vowels. So let's see the example below. So let's take the mamma lab. Okay, so we stay on the same word so we don't get confused. So lab. Lab, as we said before, is played. In English, played. Is going to be used in the example below. So I played. Jien labt. Okay, so the bold ones are the suffixes that was mentioned before. So we add them after each other. So jien labt. You played. Inti labt. He played. Huwa lab. And that is the mamma. Okay? She played. Hija labet. We played. Aħna labna. Plural. Plural again. You played. Intom labtu. And the plural again. They played. Huma labu. Let's take now another example of the word we're going to use now is the mamma talab. So what did he do yesterday? He asked. So in Maltese we say xamel il-bieraħ talab. Talab. So talab is going to be used in the example below. I asked. Jien tlabt. You asked. Inti tlabt. He asked. Huwa talab, which is the mamma. She asked. Hija talbet. We asked. Aħna tlabna. You asked. Intom tlabtu. They asked. Huma talbu. Okay, so always use the examples and follow the same rule, follow the same example, the same pattern. Okay. So let's talk about the negative in the past tense now. So we use the negative in a sentence when something didn't happen or wasn't true. For example, I didn't steal the pencil. And in Maltese you say jiena ma sraqx il-lapes. Ma sraqx il-lapes. So the negative in the past tense is formed by adding the particle ma in front of the verb and the letter sh at the end of the verb. So let's see the example below. The mamma talab is going to be used as an example. So I didn't ask, jiena ma tlabtx. Okay? You didn't ask, jinti ma tlabtx. He didn't ask, huwa ma talabx. She didn't ask, hija ma talbitx. We didn't ask, aħna ma tlabniex. You didn't ask, intom ma tlabtux. They didn't ask, huma ma talbux. So, how did talab changed to tlabt? Is because it was conjugated in the slide before. So it was conjugated, and then after the conjugation, the ma is added in front of the verb, and the letter esha is added at the end of the verb. So, important rules for the negative in the past tense. So we have some rules here. Some verbs that end with letter a, the letter changes to ie when the negative is formed. For example, he cried, he didn't cry. So, huwa beka, it ends with a. Huwa ma bekiex. So here the a is changed to ie. Huwa ma bekiex. Example B. He ran. He didn't run. Huwa ġera. It ends with a. Huwa ma ġeriex. So the a changed to ie. Okay? However, there are some verbs in which this rules doesn't apply. For example, so, however, exactly, he bought, huwa اشترى. So in this case, although it ends with an a, with an a, we don't change it to ie. So there are instances where this rule doesn't apply. He bought, huwa اشترى. He didn't buy, huwa ma اشتراش. And the a remained there. Rule number 2. Sometimes when a verb has the vowel e or e, and what is e, this changes to e when the negative is formed. For example, so he washed, huwa غسل. Okay? He didn't wash, huwa ما غسلش. So instead of غسل, now the verb changed to غسيل, غسلش. Okay, so the e changed to e. Rule number 3. Verbs that end with letter sh still can take another sh when the negative is formed. Example, he searched, huwa فتش. He didn't search, huwa ما فتش. So here the e has changed to e. Instead of فتش, فتش. Okay? But we added a double sh, so it becomes more, the pronunciation the pronunciation is correct. So huwa ma فتش, double sh. So huwa فتش, huwa ma فتش. Okay, so the sh, the sh has been doubled. Rule number 4. Verbs that have two or more syllables and contain the vowel e, de changes to vowel I or e, or e. So verbs that have two or more syllables and contain the vowel e changes to vowel e or e. Okay, for example, she wanted, hija ridet. So it has an e. She didn't want, hija ma riditx. So now in the negative, the e, okay, has been dropped, and instead the vowel e is put instead of the e. Okay, so and this can happen is either the e or the e. All right, the change. So these four important rules, it's important to remember them, okay? But as you go along, the more you practice and the more you read and the more you talk in Maltese and the more you practice, the more these will come to you automatically. You will be doing these. It would be really simple then. But for now, obviously, this might be a bit confusing, but it's only because you're just starting. Okay, so don't worry about this. But important that these rules you keep them in mind. Okay. So the future tense. The future tense is used to make predictions, talk about plans or intentions, or discuss future events. In the Maltese language, the future actions are formed by adding the word se or ha to the present tense. For example, I will go to school. Jien se mmur l-iskola. Okay? So let's take the verb talab. Alright? And is going to be used in the example. So the verb talab, which is in the past, because it's in the mamma form, all right? To get it in the present tense, remember that we need to use the imperative, and the imperative is itlab. And to conjugate a verb in the present tense, we added the anataya, remember? So if you just forget this, you can see that nitlop, titlop, yitlop, titlop, they are underlined to show you that we're using the same rule here. Anataya. But to add the future actions, all right, you need to add se or ha before it. So se or ha to the present tense. For example, I will ask, jien se nitlob. You will ask, inti se titlob. He will ask, huwa se jitlob. She will ask, hija se titlob. We will ask, aħna se nitolbu. You will ask, intom se titolbu. They will ask, huma se jitolbu. Okay? So how do we conjugate a verb that have an Italian and an English origin? So, as you can notice from the examples below, verbs borrowed from the Italian and the English languages successfully adjusted to fit into the structure of the Maltese language. So we will gonna have two examples. One of word that is originated from the English verb, um, and one that originated from the Italian verb. So example one is of an English origin, and this verb is to download. Okay, this verb is to download. So to download has to be conjugated in Maltese as follows. So in the present tense, we use the annataya rule as we said, but with a little bit of changes. For example, jien niddownloadja. Okay? Because the imperative, remember that the present tense needs the imperative. Okay? So the imperative is it downloadja. Okay? It downloadja. So we add the annataya ta annataya. Jien niddownloadja. Inti tiddownloadja. Huwa jiddownloadja. Hija tiddownloadja. Aħna niddownloadjaw. So the w has been added here. So in order to fit the structure of the Maltese language, we added also the w here. In the normal Semitic verbs, we don't add the w. So aħna niddownloadjaw, intom tiddownloadjaw, huma jiddownloadjaw. The past tense, jien id-downloadjajt. So yt was added to id-downloadja. Okay? Id-downloadjajt. Int id-downloadjajt. Huwa id-downloadja. The mamma, remember? The mamma. It downloadja. He downloaded. It means. So what did he do yesterday? He downloaded. So huwa id-downloadja, which is the mamma. Hija id-downloadjat. Aħna id-downloadjajna. Intom id-downloadjajtu. Huma id-downloadjaw. Obviously, the yt, yt, o, and were obviously different from how we conjugate the Semitic verbs, because these are coming from the Italian and the English languages. So be careful with that. So this is just for the Italian and the English origins, verbs that originated from the English and the Italian languages. All right, remember that. So future tense. So remember we said se and the present tense. So jien se niddownloadja. Inti se tiddownloadja. Huwa se jiddownloadja. Hija se tiddownloadja. Aħna se niddownloadjaw. Alright? Intom se tiddownloadjaw. Huma se jiddownloadjaw. So as you can see, it's interesting how the English and the Italian language, where the verbs has originated from, okay, they were adjusted to fit the structure of the Maltese language. So a lot of the rules, okay, apply to them as well, but with some differences. All right, with some differences. So let's go to the next example with a verb that originated from the Italian origin, from the Italian language. So, as you can notice, example 2, cantare. Verb cantare is an Italian verb, and in English is to sing, to sing. So in Maltese, cantare is canta, is canta. So this has been changed, so the present tense is changed like this. Jien inkanta, inti tkanta, huwa jkanta, hija tkanta, aħna nkantaw, intom tkantaw, huma jkantaw. Okay? Past tense. Jiena kantqajt, inti kantqajt, huwa kanta, mamma huwa kanta, hija kantat, aħna kantajna, intom kantqajtu, huma kantaw. Future tense, jien se nkanta, and inti se tkanta, huwa se jkanta, hija se tkanta, aħna se nkantaw, intom se tkantaw, huma se jkantaw. Okay? So thank you for joining me today. Before moving on with this course, I highly recommend that you download the activity as usual, and you have the answer sheets available as well. And in the activities, you will find a comprehension, okay? A comprehension where a paragraph, where a story, a short story in Maltese is there, and you need to read it and answer the questions provided. All the answers are as well on the answer sheet. Kindly feel free to add comments or send me an email if you have any feedback or questions. Thank you again and see you in the next module.